Welcome to A Spin on Offshore Wind, the podcast brought to you by Energy Coast, North East England's offshore wind cluster. I'm Caroline Lofthouse, and in this podcast I'll be bringing you industry insights, project updates and news from the UK's leading region for offshore wind and further afield. Don't forget to subscribe so each episode drops into your chosen podcast app or find it on energycoast.co.uk. In this episode, we'll be hearing all about the Sofia Offshore Wind Farm from RWE's Renewables Supply Chain Manager Graham Wright. I'll also be chatting with Stuart Fitzpatrick from GE Renewable Energy, which is supplying a high voltage direct current electrical transmission system for the Sofia Offshore Wind Farm. So thanks to Graham and Stuart for joining me, and Graham, it's very nice to see you in the studio.
Hello, Caroline.
To kick things off, could you tell us a little bit about the Sofia Offshore Wind Farm, you know, a bit of history and all of those important facts and figures for our listeners?
Yeah, certainly. The Sofia Offshore Wind Farm is 100% wholly owned by RWE. It's a 1,400 megawatt site, which is comprising of 100 14 megawatt Siemens Gamesa turbines. The construction of the wind farm is about 18 months into progress. We're sort of progressing with our sort of tier one contractors, including Stuart on GE. Should be getting the first energy in 2025 with a full completion in 2026. It's going to be a great development for the area and nationally. We're going to be powering, say, 1.2 million homes once it's fully in development.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Thanks, Graham. Yep, sounds like an absolutely fantastic project for not just North East England, but the UK as well. One thing that struck me when I visited the Sofia website, the call for businesses to register for your supply chain database is extremely prominent on the homepage. Why is having a strong and innovative supply chain so important to this project?
I do feel, Caroline, you need to be able to keep moving forward in the industry. I think that visibility is really important. We're having a lot of, oil and gas companies transferring over. We're having new businesses with innovative ideas. I want to hear them. Hopefully the tier ones certainly feeling the same. And if we can really demonstrate what is going on Sofia, showing that sort of clear visibility of the registration and what tier two potential opportunities can be there with that level of engagement, it certainly gives that best opportunity for suppliers to get involved on the Sofia wind farm.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, transferable skills from other industries are so important, and that links really well to the areas that NOF and Energy Coast focus on. In terms of sort of how is RWE, so you've got this fantastic portal, I know you've been doing a lot of promotion of that portal, but how is RWE and the wider Sofia team engaged with the supply chain? What kind of activities have you been organising to get the supply chain engaged with you?
I think firstly having some really good dialogue with our tier one contractors, having them really amenable where they've been willing to disclose or show visibility of opportunities on the portal. GE have certainly done that with Kia, where Kia have gone to some really great local events at T's network engineering event, and that really sort of helped Kia be able to sort of engage with local suppliers and show the advertising and the promotion of what opportunities are happening at that offshore converter station at Wilton. On a sort of national perspective, I've had a strong visibility, and RWE itself at Global Offshore Wind. In the North East, we've had Offshore Wind North East, where we're a strategic sort of partner to that. Had some great engagement with local suppliers who can definitely get involved with the sort of scopes of work that are happening on Sofia. So I do feel between showing what is available on the portal, having really good tier one contractors, and showing that we're going to all the clear offshore wind events where suppliers are going, we need to be there demonstrating what we can potentially offer on Sofia.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Graham. And I know that NOF, a business development organisation based in the northeast of England, but a national organisation who's been organising all of your supply chain activities, they're absolutely delighted to be working with you. They also organise Offshore Wind Northeast, which is the 9th and 10th of November in 2022, and that'll take place in northeast England as well. So thanks for being a strategic event partner on that event. And of course, the location of Sofia, it's very close to northeast England and Yorkshire's coastline, which gives the project access to a very experienced supply chain right on your doorstep. What's your sort of views of clusters of organisations in those particular regions?
I'm a Teesside lad. I'm very passionate about the northeast and Teesside in particular, but I'm also passionate about offshore wind. I've been working in it for 17 years now. On the other side of the fence for the majority of that time, actually been within the supply chain of the northeast. So I do feel as if I've experienced firsthand the sort of procurement activity that can be realised from this region. And I'm really confident that they can play a strong part on Sofia, especially in terms of the sort of engagement that we've had at Offshore Wind Northeast. So I do feel both from an offshore perspective, once we get into the installation phases in a few years' time, but also what's happening already locally with, say, GE suppliers and the onshore converter station, seeing a great amount of delivery from the Tees Valley area.
That's great, thank you. And I know that RWE Renewables, you're an active and very supportive participant of the Energy Coast Industry Group as well. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about Energy Coast?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually coming over to the sort of developer side, that sort of different level of responsibility when it comes to these types of bodies. And I do feel that the clusters really do work because it sort of bridges that gap between some of the real smaller suppliers and strategic companies that really need to break through. And myself and Tom Nightingale for, say, Equinor, both showing that sort of responsibility and sort of availability that we can speak to suppliers, have sort of meetings and connections and really improve if there's companies that can really offer something. We just haven't seen them before. And that sort of striking, I mean, I say you can't start a fire without a spark. Well, I do feel as if we really ignite that spark by having those types of events with the cluster.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I really do see through all of the activities that you have been organising. You know, you're very engaging with different supply chain companies across the whole sort of energy piece. So, you know, smaller companies through to the larger ones. And that kind of links me to the next sort of subject I wanted to cover, really. In terms of a supplier, what do you want to see from them? What do you look for? What do you see from them in terms of adding value to the construction and then the subsequent operations and maintenance phase of the project?
I think it's a really sort of pivotal, important question, that because... And it was that important that we, after the Meet the Buyer events that we organised, which was each particular T1 contractor, we sort of tried to have a bit of a washout from those events last summer, if you can recall, Caroline, because they were online, which does make it a little bit, the delivery a little bit removed from the supply chain. But we did feel as if they needed some feedback, so we organised a workshop called Breaking Down Barriers, and we wanted to demonstrate that clear thing between what the Tier 1 contractors like GE and Van Orde are looking for, so then the suppliers get a clearer understanding of what their needs are, because it is a two-way thing, really. I think first and foremost, the sort of health and safety and quality really needs to sort of shine through, and that needs to be very evident inside the company. Obviously, experience does help you if you work in offshore wind or you've got experience within a different sector of providing that level of scope of work. But I do feel as well that the suppliers need to be able to deliver and offer what the, say, Tier 1 contractors are after. And I mean that sort of from a clear perspective that sometimes the Tier 1 contractors have a very specific scope of work, and it sometimes isn't for being broken down. So I think that's when the supply chain, where possible, if they want to sort of get involved, need to be able to look and think, can we sort of connect with another supplier to come together, or is there other ways where we can have really good dialogue that can really improve that sort of situation where the suppliers can get further involved in Sofia. But I think that sort of understanding of what tier ones are looking for, I think, is really important, because if you can imagine, RWE has placed all its big, hefty orders now, and it does fall on the tier ones during the construction. When it comes to the operations, I think it's a bit more of a nimble situation, a bit more reactive. The scopes of work are a lot smaller. They need to have, obviously we've committed to the port of Grimsby, so that sort of accessibility to what Grimsby port needs, if it's that type of commitment. But also, again, that reactive availability is very, very important, I think, because once you're trying to keep a wind farm operational, you definitely need a supply chain that you can trust and can provide the sort of services that we need to keep that wind farm maintained.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic advice and guidance for the supply chain there. So quality, experience, connecting with the tier ones, and also connecting with other supply chain companies that they can work with. In terms of, I know that RWE, you've got a fantastic pipeline of projects. It's not limited to Sofia here in the northeast of England. Could you tell us a little bit more about your sort of pipeline of opportunities?
Yeah, RWE has a very strong commitment to the United Kingdom when it comes to, say, wind farm projects. We've obviously got Sofia, which is happening here and now. Triton Knoll is just coming online. We've got obviously the entire portfolio that we already have already. And then we're going into, if we go down the coastline, we've got Doggerbank South, which I'll be sort of working on. I'm really passionate about this area. We've got two further wind farms down the east coast in North Falls and Five Estuaries. We're extending Rampion, so that will be Rampion 2. In Wales, we're doing Owler and then further into, say, floating wind, we've got the Celtic Sea. So I do think there'll be further wind farm commitments we'll be doing in the future, but for now, I think that will be certainly a strong portfolio to deliver on.
Definitely agree with that, Graham. Stuart, turning to you, thank you for joining me down the line. Can you tell us what a HVDC system is and the role of it and what it will play on the Sofia Offshore Wind Farm?
Yeah, hi Caroline. Basically, the HVDC system is the heart of the transmission system. As Graham said there, we have 114 megawatt turbines out in the North Sea. And our job is to efficiently transmit that electricity that they are generating back to shore. When you're transmitting electricity over long distances, HVDC is the most efficient way of doing that. So we have an offshore converter platform which gathers together the power that's generated from those 100 turbines, converts the AC electricity into DC electricity. For transmission effectively across I think it's 220 kilometres back to the shore. And then we have an equivalent but opposite converter station, which is onshore, based at the Wilton site, which converts the DC power back to AC power for connection into the national grid. So in very simple terms, it's an efficient way of transmitting a lot of power over long distances.
Oh, brilliant! Thanks for that, Stuart. And a part of the project, there are some significant onshore works. Could you tell us a little bit about those and the supply chain that you've built to deliver those opportunities?
Yeah, this is mainly related to the onshore converter station, which is just next to the Wilton site. We are constructing a full HVDC converter there. So whilst we've engaged with Kia as our main subcontractor for those works, the work is being broken down into many sub packages by Kia, covering groundworks, excavations, construction, steel work, mechanical installation, electrical installation, commissioning activities. So it's broken down into many sub packages, which some of those for the early works have already been let to some contractors, but there's still many packages of work which are still to be looked at over the next 12 to 18 months.
That was going to actually be one of my questions. Is there still opportunities for the supply chain to get involved?
Absolutely. As I said, there's just the early works contracts have been let for some of the packages, but we're probably only 25% of the way through letting of the remainder of those subcontracts. So there's still many opportunities that are available to, as I said, across a wide variety of construction and installation activities.
Brilliant. I like the sound of that. Many opportunities. A question for both of you, Graham and Stuart, on sort of skills and careers. With those onshore works happening in Teesside, in the northeast of England, does that give you an opportunity to tap into the local workforce? Could you give me a little bit more information on that? I'll go to Graham first.
Yeah, I think it really does, and I think this is one of the things that Sofia's done really well so far. Is I think firstly you've got the onshore converter station, which is supported also by all the great works that they're doing in Stafford as well, which is really delivering great UK delivery. And then further to that, Van Ord, obviously based in Stokesley, they've got all the responsibility of the foundation installation, and I think coupled with a very local UK delivery of MPI, with that and some sort of northeast port decisions, which I really hope can really come to, say, fruition over the next few coming months, that will really sort of bring together that skills delivery. Because I think between having the procurement and all that sort of infrastructure coming through, it really then delivers the sort of skills opportunity for jobs to start to flourish. So I'm really confident about that.
Brilliant news. Stuart, have you got anything to add about from the GE perspective?
Yeah, as Graham said there, we've whilst the centre of our engineering operations is in Stafford, we've had to build a significant site team at the onshore converter station, and at the moment we only have one permanent GE person on site there, and the rest of our GE team are from the local area. So we've built up that team based upon people from the local area and supplemented the workforce that way. In addition to that, Kia have taken a similar model as well, and I think it's fair to say probably about 90% of their workforce that they have at the onshore converter station is from the local area.
That's absolutely fantastic.
And if I could, apologies,
Graham,
come in further, Caroline,
jump in.
Just to sort of capture the imagination going forward of young people. I've worked really hard and strongly in the sort of Teesside area, Tees Valley area, on really trying to speak to ages from 8 all the way up to, say, university leavers, trying to emphasise 100 jobs in offshore wind and really try and capture people thinking about offshore wind as part of their career going forward. So yeah, very much want to ensure that young people get involved in offshore wind.
Perfect. And do you want to draw on anything to do with the military, Graham?
Yeah, I mean, it's something close to my heart. I'm ex-military. I did sort of 5 years during the Afghanistan and Iraq periods, and I do feel as if it's something that we need to support our people that have supported this country, kept us safe, and we need to keep their well-being safe as they transition into civilian life. I do feel as if they've got a lot of transferable skills, both working onshore and especially offshore, especially examples like people that are coming out from the Navy that want to work on ships. So I really want to get out there. I'm going to be there in Liverpool on the panel, really trying to push and engage and even help people on the way, potentially even mentor people if they're looking for that.
That's great, thank you. And just sort of touching upon sort of skills, working with colleges, universities, schools, etc. Stuart, I'll go to you first. Is there any kind of, are you working with sort of local education providers, apprenticeship providers? Could you tell us a little bit more about that for the Sofia project?
As part of GE, we very much encourage STEM activities within local schools. So STEM being science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We've done a couple of events already, and I know there's some upcoming events with some local schools to encourage some of the STEM activities and how they could link from schools into projects like we have here with Sofia. Additionally, we have links with Teesside University. So as GE, we have intern programs. So undergraduates who are typically in their third year of their studies take a year out and come into industry. We've had a particular undergraduate who's been with us for the past 12 months from Teesside University. He spent 6 months in the Stafford office and then a further 6 months on site at the onshore converter station. Due to the timing, he's now finished that and he's gone back to complete his 4th year at university. But we have another guy who's joining us now in the next week or so, I think. He's doing it the other way around. He's going to spend 6 months on site and then 6 months in the Stafford office. Both of those, I think, are doing civil engineering degrees at Teesside University. So that's a great link, and it's a great practical application of their skills to actually see what they're learning can be put into practice.
That's brilliant, Stuart. Thank you for that. I'm going to go over to Graham.
And just to add a little bit further on the STEM side is I think we at RW feel it's really, really important, and we do have a very strong engagement with the teachers. They're champions for wind, for trying to really assist on their curriculum and get them in the classroom to understand more with their engagement with the pupils. But also, given the fact that the cable route for both Sofia and Doggerbank Sea both head towards the Mask by the Sea. I have a special sort of engagement with Bydale School where I'm an enterprise advisor. I really do feel as it's important to give back within that region. So I will be doing a lot of work with the local school there.
Excellent, that's great. And thanks to both of you from a business and a personal perspective from both of you for investing in people in the region as well. So, thank you both for your time and insights. I've really enjoyed chatting with you both today. The information that you've given for supply chain companies looking to be part of the Sofia Offshore Wind Farm development has been absolutely fantastic, so thanks for that. And don't forget you can subscribe to A Spin on Offshore Wind on all good podcast platforms, or you can find it on energycoast.co.uk. That's ENERGI coast, all one word, .co.uk. And join us next time for A Spin on Offshore Wind.